2 years into pump foiling and I've never ever tried a foil drive before. Today was my first time. I hate it. I love it. Is it even useful to learn pump foiling? Or maybe it's just useful for prom foiling, downwind SUP foiling and stuff like that? What are my thoughts? Is it worth to spend 4.5k, 5k, I don't know how much is that, a lot of money for that thing? Is it even fun at the end of the day? Watch this video and find it out. But before, let me tell you that at the end of the month, on the 27th and on the 28th, I will be around the French Alps and Switzerland, and I will make 5 meetups in Annecy, Versoix, Lausanne, Bielbienne, and Zurich. You will find the first link in the description below. It's kind of like a document where you can see the timetable. So all the dates, all the times, and also all the spots, like the location, like the Google Map location, right? So if you're from there, please just come and we're gonna pump together. It's gonna be super fun. I'm waiting for you.
Really hard. It's much harder than it looks.
The transition is not easy.
No, it's really hard because you have lots of things going on. You have to pop out of the water. There's three things of resistance. One, leaving the water on the board. The second one is the foil drive, and the third one's the propeller. And then you're on the map.
Yeah.
So there's like a bunch of transitions where you change the amount of resistance you have.
Yeah.
So what you need to try and do is come out, so the propeller's in the water and under the battery. So that space, that's big. You have to go there where it's the speed area.
Yeah. And then pop.
You go as fast as you can.
Yeah.
Go. You'll see you'll have less resistance and you'll be trying to keep the board as flat as possible. You go in a straight line as fast as you can, and then you have to like get your knees onto your ears. You have to like jump out, but like this. And then you jump out and you're flat out. Let go of the trigger.
Yeah.
And then you slowly glide down. That's the first thing. Or in your case, because you know how to pump, you try and pump. But the first thing is you need speed. If you don't have speed, you don't go anywhere, because even if you manage to get out like you are, you're getting out, but as soon as you pump, you don't just stall. The pod, the propeller thing hits the water. And when it hits the water, because there's so much resistance, that's why you can't pump, because you're not high enough on the foil. It's really good. This is just a matter of time.
And the foil drive was out?
Yeah.
The propeller was out.
For a bit, yeah. Yeah.
So I need to keep it flat as soon as I jump up.
So you
Probably I'm pumping too early. I first need to jump out, glide, and then pump, right?
So yeah, exactly, yeah.
Because if I pump right away, I come down.
If you pump, if you're not way out,
Yeah.
then the propeller touches again.
Yeah.
And then it's really hard, because even if the propeller is going, you have all these changes in speed, and it's really messy. So the thing to try now is to jump out,
Yeah. Right.
and then just let it,
Yeah.
because what you want is the balance. You want to feel the balance.
I wanna
of the board.
feel also the weather.
Exactly, and then when you figure that out, then you can pump more easily, because if you're not balanced, and this board is very tippy.
I like it though.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I love it. It's a great board.
Lately, I've been giving a bunch of pump foil lessons here in Cyprus, and one of my mentees, George, actually has a foil drive, and today he let me to try it. So he attached it to an F1 downwind 109 liter board, fantastic board, and then he had an 85 centimeter mast from F1, and then an Ego, and a small stab, always of course from F1. A pretty solid setup, but it's like a super extreme downwind setup. So it's not really easy to pump. It needs quite a ton of speed, and it's quite sensitive, especially with that stab and with that gigantic mast. and with that gigantic board. So that was probably one of the biggest problems, because after 20-25 minutes I was actually able to engage the foil and disengage the foil drive. But the problem was that even though I was up on foil, it was super hard to pump. It was something like I've never tried. It was way more sensitive, not only because of the board, but again, it's super high aspect, it's super thin, and also the mast is higher. So it was way harder to pump than that what I'm used to. So is it something that I recommend? Because there are people who are like getting into pump foiling, and they're maybe buying a foil drive, and then they want to get into pump foiling after they learn how to fly. Honestly, I don't think that's the best way to do that. I'm gonna explain you why. So, even if you start with your foil drive and a big foil, like a foil that you would normally use to pump, I don't believe that that's the best idea. That's the best thing to do. Because the thing is that if you gain speed and height thanks to the foil drive, you don't learn how to gain speed and height on foil, on your own, like with your legs, with your body. And if you don't do that, you just try somehow to keep the speed that you generated with the foil drive without actually understanding how you got that speed. So, in my opinion, it's probably not the best tool to learn pump foiling. I'm gonna explain it to you again, right? So many times I repeated the importance of gaining height and speed, because if you don't know how to gain height and speed, you cannot be efficient, right? With the foil drive, maybe you can learn how to glide, and that's all right. That's maybe a step. So maybe you wanna use it to learn how to glide, but actually you can learn how to glide even just by running on the dock and then jumping on the board. It's not really that hard. I don't think that gliding is the hardest part. Of course, you have to learn how to glide before learning how to pump, but I really think that in this case, if you really, really genuinely just want to pump foil, I don't think that the foil drive is the right tool for you, because I again, if you want to pump efficiently and not just try to go on, you need to be able to pick up speed and height on your own, without relying on another tool, on an external factor, on the engine, on the motor, right, on the propeller. So it's probably not the best tool, in my opinion, to learn pump foiling. But I think that for downwinding, for prone foiling, it's probably the best thing that you can use. It's really fantastic. Because think about it, right? We were discussing about George, and like sometimes when here in Cyprus, here in southern Cyprus, the wind is very very strong. You can go up until there. You cannot see, but there's like kind of like a lighthouse, and then you can go all the way downwind, down until here, and it's fantastic. I believe it's like 10 kilometers, something like that. But it's a pretty nice ride, and the wind is perfect. Okay, maybe it's not big conditions, like you don't have big waves. It's kind of choppy, but when it's stronger than this, right now it's probably like 12, 13 knots, something like that. When it's stronger than this, you can really, really, really go there and then come here downwinding. And we're discussing like we could simply go like upwind with the foil drive and then coming downwind without the foil drive. So yeah, I see it as an alternative to the paddle, as a way to prone surf in bigger condition, as a tool to learn prone foiling and surf foiling, as a tool to learn the paddle up, because it can assist you as the name says, to in all these conditions, in all these situations. So for that, it's probably fantastic. But I'm not yet into those things, but I will get there. And by the way, I'm getting into wing foiling, so subscribe to this channel, because in the next months I will probably post content on that as well. Anyway, I was saying that yeah, I wanted to share kind of my experience, right? The mistakes that I've made at the beginning, and what I've changed to actually get up on foil, right? Not that I made not that I covered a good distance, but at least I was able to get up on foil and pump for 10 meters, let's say. Again, it was not hard to get up after 20 minutes, but it was hard to pump that thing. So I would have needed like another full battery to actually learn how to properly pump that thing. Because the problem was that it was not only more sensitive and more fast and faster than what I'm used to, but the problem was that I couldn't really. You have to be super precise because if when you're pumping, you go too deep. First of all, you touch the nose down because you don't have an 80 centimeter board like the clubber. No, this time you have a I don't know how long that is, but probably 2 meters, something like that. So it's super long. So you have to be very very precise and to not pitch it up and down a lot because you will touch down way. It's easier to touch down with that board, of course, than with a super short board. But the other thing is that you also have to stay super high on the mast because if you're not precise and you lose height on the mast and for one split second the propeller, the motor hits the water, you're fucked because it's so draggy, right? If the propeller is not pushing you, you will stall right away. And even if you're still pulling the trigger and the propeller is still turning, is still pushing, still, if the propeller hits the water, enter the water, there are so many changes. The speed will change, so it's not really easy, right, to pump that foil. But for what concern getting up, so one of the biggest problems that I had was that specifically with this board is fantastic, don't get me wrong, but the problem was that since it has this little step underneath, to fit the new second generation foil drive, George, the owner, had to make two shims to put in between the foil drive and the board because there is this step again, and I will show some footage. But the thing is that with these shims, water flows in between the board and the motor, like the battery and stuff. And because of that, the connection is not great. So I had some trouble at the beginning just finding the right point to find the connection. But then I figured out that the best thing is to just start pulling the trigger before actually getting on the board. Like maybe you get on board with your belly, and then you get on your knees, and then you place your front foot in front, and then you get up, right? So the best piece of advice that I can give in this case to just engage the propeller, so start pulling the trigger before actually even getting on the board with your belly. So that's you don't risk to lose connection. It's easier to get the connection between the remote and the receiver, like the engine, the actual motor. And then it was actually kind of easy because again it was a big board. It was not super stable, but it was not that hard actually to get up. Again, it took me 20-25 minutes. And once I was up, I really had to put a ton of pressure with my front foot in order to keep the foil down. And during my first trials, I really wanted to get up and pump it, but that's not how you do it. Just like when you're learning pump foiling, you don't really want to pump right away. You first want to learn how to glide and then learn how to hop, and then you can actually get into the pumping movement. And it's the same thing. It's exactly the same thing. It's different, but it's the same, right? It's the same process, I mean. Because here you have to gain speed, like maybe you're kneeling or maybe you're starting already with your front foot up and then with your back knee on the pad. You're really forward, you start pulling the trigger. As soon as you have some speed, so you gain some stability, you can actually get up, you stand up. You keep all your weight in front, especially your shoulders and your hips in front. You gain speed, and when you start feeling that you reach the maximum speed, you're still dragging the board at this point. And then what I really understood, it took me like 20-25 minutes to understand it, but I started moving my front foot towards the back. And just by doing that, I was engaging the foil and disengaging the propeller. Because at the beginning I was just trying to go directly from taxiing to foil. But that's not how you do it. As George explains at the beginning of this video, we have to taxi, so drag the board, and then engage the foil and lift the board, but still keep the propeller in the water, so that the propeller is still pushing you, but the foil is not dragging. This way you're gonna get a ton of speed, and after you gain that speed, because you will gain more speed because the board is not dragging anymore, and once you have the speed, you can actually jump, hop high, and not jump, hop high, and get up on foil. And you could also kind of like bump the bounce or bump, I don't know, the board, sorry, in the water and then get up, just to help you get up. But again, with this 85 centimeter mast, it was pretty damn hard. So one suggestion that I can give you is to, if you can, start with a shorter mast. That's probably way easier, and actually also a more stable, bigger foil, because that foil was pretty sensitive. So yeah, I was doing the right thing, but then I understood that I had to gain speed. So taxi, gain speed, while you only have your front foot up. Then you get up, you gain more speed, then you move slightly your front foot towards the back so that you can engage the foil and lift the board. And then after you do that, you hop, but you don't go straight into the pumping movement. I was dying to pump. I was dying to pump that foil, but that's not how you do it. Again, you have to wait for the board and the foil, for the whole system to have speed. Then you hop, then you glide a little bit, a couple of times, because you have to understand if your field placement is correct and how sensitive is the setup, especially if you're not used to big boards and small foils. I mean, small foils, fast foils, let's say. So after I figured this out, after I was able to glide for a little bit, then I was able to actually pump a little bit. Not at all, because not that much, because again, as I said at the beginning of this video, you really have to understand the sensitivity of these kind of foils, right? And in order to do that, it takes experience, because again, you cannot make mistakes, because if you make mistakes, either you're gonna touch down with the nose, either you're gonna go too low on the mast, and you're gonna make the propeller hit the surface. And again, if the propeller hits the surface, you're fucked. You're down. And also, it was way more unstable also in roll. I don't think it's just because of the size of the foil. I also think it's because of the board itself. Like if you have such a big board compared to the small boards that we're used to, it's really hard to. It's just more sensitive. You have more lag, and you cannot really recover. You know, when you have these small boards like this, the Clubber or other boards, it's so easy to bring it back up, because it's just so precise, you know. You have such a direct feeling with the foil. In this case, you don't. You have like 10 centimeter or something more even in between you and the mast, and even more because there is a foil drive. So it's kind of tricky, right? Because again, the mast was 85, but then you also have to. I don't know how thick is the foil drive, probably 4 centimeter or something like that, and then the board. So you are actually like probably 1 meter away from the foil. You know how much that is? I'm used to a 77 centimeter mast. It's an incredible difference. It's a huge difference. So it was not really that simple. That was probably the hardest part. So getting used to such a high mast. But of course, if you want to get into downwinding, that's the only way. You need to have that mast. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, because yes, you have to be more precise, but at the same time, it requires less movement from the rider to make the same movement on the foil if the mast is higher, right? I'm not a physician, as always. But yeah, that's pretty much it. These are my thoughts on the foil drive. I hope that this video helps you like understand better who is this for, who is this not for. I will probably add a section in the pump foil guide, which is the second link in the description below. It's a full document where I pack all my knowledge into pump foiling. And I will add maybe a section dedicated to the foil drive, just for you to have a better understanding and to make sure that the document really pack all the knowledge that I have, that I gained. Not that it's that much, but still it's something compared to a complete beginner. And many people are actually very happy. They are getting the guide, which is for free, and they're very happy because it's super useful. And you know, hearing me talking is one thing, seeing it's one thing, but many people, and I'm one of them, I'm one of those, it's just easier to read something, because if I read it, it sticks better in my mind, and perhaps it's the same for you. And if that's the case, just again download the pump foil guide, which is the second link in the description below. And again, the first link is like a page where you can see the timetable for the meetups that I'm making in the French Alps and in Switzerland next week. So 27th and 28th of August. And subscribe because there are very a lot of there are a lot of news incoming, a lot of cool news, and I'm getting into wing foiling, and I will also get into SUP. I have to do everything, like everything that involves a foil. I'm gonna make it. So subscribe to this channel to not miss the other videos. Also because like probably 70% or something like that of the returning viewer of this channel are not actually subscribed. So come on, bro. Come on. Hit the subscribe button. Thank you very much. I will see you in the next one.